Hello, everyone. Today we'd be revising the nature versus nurture debate. This revision would take place in the context of impulse control disorders, or if I be a little more specific, explanations for impulse control disorders. Before we get started with this, I'd want you all to give this a question a thorough read, and then we'd begin. Now, if we have a look at these questions, I've picked up this question from the specimen paper from 2024. This is from paper 3, question number 2. Remember, if you're a student who studied clinical psychology, question number 1, 2, 3, and 4 have to be attempted by you. Have to be. So these are the 4 questions. This is how it looks like. This is question 1, this is question 2, question 3, and question 4. So there is no choice because this says answer all questions. So without any further ado, let's begin. The question over here, question number 2, is of 4 marks, and we see this question being divided into 2 parts. The first part of the question where you reads, outline what is meant by the nature versus nurture debate, number 1. Number 2, explain one weakness of the explanations for impulse control disorder from the nature side of the debate. So, if I talk about this question as a whole, what is expected from us? The examiner expects from us to have a thorough understanding on this nature versus nurture debate to begin with, which is one of the issues and debates that are part of your A2 psychology syllabus. Number 2, you're expected to know the explanations for impulse control disorders. And while having knowledge on explanations for impulse control disorders, you're expected to write down according to the nature side of the debate. I mean, so one, you need to know the nature versus nurture debate, and then you need to be able to take sides with the nature side of the debate while explaining one weakness of the explanations for impulse control disorder. So the questions have to be read thoroughly. If you're not reading the question thoroughly, you will not be able to answer them correct. So even if it is taking a couple of seconds, let's just say 30 seconds, 40 seconds for you to understand what the question is demanding from you, invest in that time because it's always going to be worth it. Now, taking this ahead, if I may help you recall a few things, this is how the marking scheme for the question looks like. But before that, let me remind you this nature versus nurture debate has been picked from this part. These are the issues and debates that every student needs to have a thorough understanding on. If you are an A2 psychology student, this is something that you all should be familiar with. These 4 different issues and debates have been picked up from AS. Now, when I say they've been picked up from AS, in other words, you have studied these in AS. And the ones beneath, these are the new ones that you've been taught in A2. So the first 4 ones, even when they have been taught to you in AS, you would still expect to be questioned on them in A2s. So this is what we're talking about, the nature versus nurture debate. You need to have a thorough understanding about the nature versus nurture debate. Now, why is it that I'm showing this slide to you? I'm showing this slide to you because I would want you all to be really good with all of these 8 different issues and debates, because remember, question number 2 always ends up asking you on this. So, one, you need to know what these are. Number 2, you need to be able to understand how to apply them in context of your syllabus content. Now, taking this ahead, this is where we have picked up nature versus nurture from. Number 2, the explanations of mood or affective disorders. Like I said, you need to have a thorough understanding of this one as well. So if you have a look at the syllabus, for explanations for mood or affective disorder, that is depressive disorder, this is we talking about biological explanations. So biological explanations, remember the question I'd read, you need to have a thorough understanding of the nature side of the debate, right? And if I talk about the explanations for impulse control disorder here, remember, if we speak about the syllabus now, if I may just show it to you, go back and show this to you. Remember, the syllabus for explanations of mood disorders is divided into 2 parts, 2 bullets. The first one is biological explanations, and the second one over here is psychological explanations. So we could divide the explanations for impulse control disorder into 2 parts, the biological and the psychological explanations. Remember, the biological explanations have been further put into 2 main categories. The first one being biochemical, imbalances, and the second one being genetics, or the extent to which the explanation that claims that genes play an important role in terms of individuals developing mental illnesses. So, as we speak about biochemicals, if I talk about depression, uh, less amount of dopamine and less amount of serotonin could be possible reasons why individuals are developing depressive symptoms. So if I try to quickly help you recap the biochemical explanation over here, the idea is that an imbalance in neurotransmitters, remember, understand this, an imbalance in neurotransmitters can lead to individuals developing mental illnesses. So let's take this a little further and talk about let's take this a little further and talk about the nature versus nurture debate. Now, as we speak about the nature versus nurture debate over here, the nature versus nurture debate examines whether behavior is primarily determined by biological factors or environmental factors or social influences. If I may, I'll just drag a paper over here and write this down for you. So, if I talk about this nature versus nurture debate, the nature versus nurture debate. Like I said, according to the nature versus nurture debate, our behavior is either primarily determined by biological factors, either it is biology or environmental factors, could be social influences. Now, if we speak in terms of or in relation to ICD, that is impulse control disorder, if we speak in relation to ICD, that is impulse control disorder, in the context of impulse control disorder, the nature argument suggests that genetic predisposition, it could be because of genetic predisposition, it could be because of brain structures, it could be because of imbalance in neurotransmitters. Example, let's just say dopamine. So, an imbalance in neurotransmitters like dopamine are responsible for these behaviors. Now, if on the other hand, we speak about, I think I just removed this brain structure part because I don't want this. Okay. So, these two, they are a part of your syllabus. Let's pick this up and drag it here. So, yeah, when we speak about the nurture side of the debate, the nurture argument highlights the influence of environmental factors. Now, these environmental factors could be your upbringing process, could be peer pressure as well. See, you're studying all of this under the heading of impulse control disorders, ICD. So, it could be because of your upbringing process. It could be because of your peer pressure. It could be because of an exposure to trauma, to stress. For example, if we speak about kleptomania, what was kleptomania? When you cannot resist the urge to steal. This kleptomania could have been, if I talk about the nature side of the debate, I might as well drag in the behavioral explanation. If I talk about the behavioral explanation, remember, according to the behavioral explanation, you learn abnormalities, right? So this could be an example of a learned behavior. This could probably be an example of a coping mechanism that you're using. Or it could be explained through reinforcement mechanisms or rewarding mechanisms. Now, we're talking about the nature versus nurture side of the debate. In a nutshell, when I talk about the nature side of the debate, I am actually referring to the extent to which biology could have its involvement, the extent to which biology could have its involvement in terms of explaining any particular disorder. In this context, we're referring to impulse control disorders here. So, having a look back, having a look at the question again, outline what is meant by the nature versus nurture debate. This happens to be a 2 mark question. So you could just write the extent to which human behavior is the result of innate traits or environment. The extent to which human behavior is the result of innate traits or environment. When you're using the word innate traits, you're automatically referring to nature, whereas when you're referring to the word, when you're using the word environment, you're automatically referring to nurture over here, right? So this is how you could score a 2 on 2. Remember, over here, the examiner says about 2 marks for an outline of the term or the concept in context of the debate. When we're using the word debate, it should include information on nature and nurture side of the debate both, right? Now, for instance, if you end up writing nature is where behavior is caused by inborn genetic traits, fine, that's fine, but you're just writing down about nature. You need to be able to write down about nurture as well. So, taking this ahead without any further ado, the second question, B part over here reads, explain one weakness of explanations for impulse control disorder from the nature side of the debate. I repeat, from the nature side of the debate, for the third time, the nature side of the debate. So the examiner is automatically hinting you on the biological explanation. See, you need to read the question thoroughly. You need to read the question thoroughly so that you're ensuring that you are not missing out on anything that you shouldn't be missing out on it, right? So explain one weakness of explanations of impulse control disorder from the nature side of the debate. Now, the weaknesses might include, since this is a 2 mark question, it's on your discretion. Pick up whatever you feel like picking up. The reductionist explanation, you could use this as well. The reductionist explanation suggests impulse control disorders are caused by biological factors. That is dopamine deficiency. Remember when I had said less amount of dopamine? Remember when I had said an imbalance in neurotransmitters? So, what is the reductionist explanation over here? From before that, we need to know what reductionism over here is. Reductionism is when you are breaking something complex, when you're breaking something complex into simpler bits to be able to provide a better explanation. So the opposite of reductionism over here is free will. On one end, you have reductionism. When you are, if you're talking about the nature side of this debate, it's automatically reductionist because you are ignoring other factors, other external factors that could have possibly played their role as well. So moving on, the determinist explanation. This suggests that there is no free will in the development of impulse control disorders. This could also suggest that a person could not unlearn the impulse control disorder. It has developed due to factors outside their control. So, reductionism, for reductionism, you need to know on one end you have reductionism, and on the other end you have free will. For determinism, you should know on one end you have determinism, and on the other end you have free will. I'm sorry, for reductionism, on one hand, you have reductionism, the second hand, you have holism, holistic approach. Number three, poor practical application. As the explanation is based on biological factors and it is not possible for the patient with impulse control disorder or a therapist to reduce this dopamine deficiency, right? So, reducing this dopamine deficiency, that means you're talking about there being no solution at all. How does that work? Now, if we talk about an example that has been provided here, one weakness of the nature side of the debate is that the explanation suggests that impulse control disorders develop due to biological factors and ignores other possible explanations. This makes this side of the debate reductionist. It ignores other possible causes of impulse control disorders, such as learning and feeling state. So simply, you have picked on this part, the examiner has picked on this part and elaborated it to show you what all you need to write to be able to gain 2 marks. Now, what I'd advise is, if you've understood this, you might as well just time yourself while copying this. Just see how much or what part of the script or the page you cover. I mean, there are many kids who end up saying, "Oh, sir, how much do we write for a 2 mark question?" I mean, that depends on your writing. That depends on your font size, on your writing speed as well. Just copy this and see if copy this and see, and through the amount of space you've taken on the script, you'd be able to gauge better as to how much you should be writing. I mean, we could elaborate on this one as well. I think I just right. This would take a minute or so, but I just give an answer to this. I might as well just elaborate on this. I could say one weakness of the biological explanation for impulse control disorders from the nature side of the debate is its reductionist nature, or rather, reductionist approach. Let's not get confused with the word nature over and over again. So, one weakness of the biological explanation for impulse control disorders from the nature side of the debate is its okay. So, this should be is its reductionist approach. What does reductionist approach do? It simplifies complex behavior it simplifies complex behaviors like compulsive stealing. We're talking about kleptomania over here. Or for the matter of fact, you could say gambling as well, to biological factors such as genetic predisposition, genetic predispositions, or neurotransmitters imbalance. Neurotrans neurotransmitter imbalance. This reductionist approach overlooks the role of environment, rather, let's just say environmental influences, such as learned behavior, so we could summarize this by saying by focusing solely on biology, that is the nature side of the debate, the explanation fails to consider the interaction between nature and nurture. And by doing so, you're actually limiting its ability to provide a comprehensive understanding or to be able to develop a holistic treatment plan. So, one weakness of the biological explanation for impulse control disorder is from the nature side of the debate for impulse control disorder from the nature side of the debate is its reductionist approach. So we recognizing this is a weakness. Now we further elaborate on this. It simplifies complex behavior like compulsive stealing or gambling to biological factors such as genetic predisposition or neurotransmitter imbalances. This reductionist approach overlooks the role of environmental factors such as learned behaviors. By focusing solely on biology, that is nature, the explanation fails to consider the interaction between nature and nurture, limiting its ability to provide a comprehensive understanding or to be able to develop a holistic treatment plan. Now, I hope this has been helpful. Thank you.